Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Detroit Lions. It is officially the offseason, and this is when things get fun, especially for the Detroit Lions. They had a phenomenal draft in 2022. They are loaded in the first round. You have the 6th pick and the 18th pick. You got a couple second rounders, actually. You got a third rounder. This is where Brad Holmes and this Detroit Lions organization has really thrived ever since he came in, and it's just going to be a really fun offseason, man. They have $28.5 expected million to work in the cap space. There are a couple of names I have circled that I would like to see back with the Detroit Lions. They will have some decisions to make, but we'll start it off with some great news. According to Next Gen Stats, Jared Goff was the NFL's third best quarterback, and actually in Lions mock draft news, this was the first time in the offseason this past week that a quarterback was not selected in the first round. Now, we've kind of been preaching that for a while now. If you're going to get a quarterback, especially in the draft, I hope it is a future replacement for Jared Goff. But Jared Goff, this is his team. This is his Detroit Lions offense to run. They the 5th best offense, the 5th highest scoring team in the National Football League, and they were really close to making the playoffs. This is a playoff team for next year. So before we get into it, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, hit that sub button. I post NFL content along with a bunch of Lions videos. Love you guys so much. If we could get this video to 1,000 likes, that would be absolutely awesome. But I really liked what I saw in an article earlier this week, and it was basically that Brad Holmes, he's just playing a big game of chess right now. He's got a master plan in works, and it has worked for the most part almost perfectly. It's not that they're ahead of the schedule, they're on schedule. And that should be a terrifying phrase and thought for opposing NFL teams, especially as a cheesehead. This is not a team I want to be messing with. They've got the cap space, they have the draft assets, and they're just going to continue to fill in these holes. And I can't wait when we take a look at last year, especially in the first round. I think there's a very real argument that, with Aiden Hutchinson going number 2, I think there's a really real argument to be said that in a couple of years from now, we're going to look back at the 2022 first round and draft in general and be like, yeah, the Lions won it. The reason I say that is because we did not see much Jameson Williams. He's working his way back from an ACL tear in college, and he was selected at number 12 out of Alabama. And Alabama, especially wide receivers, they have a great track record, but Aiden Hutchinson had a phenomenal D-Roddy type of season, and they just did a great job, not only in the first round, but you also have just legitimate starters that emerged as the season went on, and just to name a few, Kirby Joseph, the safety out of Illinois, Aaron Rodgers' arch nemesis already, Malcolm Rodriguez, James Houston came what felt like out of nowhere from Jackson State. So glad he got an opportunity. But let's start with free agency, all right? Because there's going to be some decisions to be made, and Brad Holmes and this organization they're going to have to make a couple of difficult calls. Now, I have about 5 names circled on players I would love to see back, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. The Detroit Lions, they do have a fair share of free agents that they're going to have to throw some money at. Guys like Jamal Williams, coming off a career year, breaking record, it was a phenomenal year. And I absolutely love the 1-2 punch duo when DeAndre is healthy. But Jamal Williams on the season, 17 touchdowns. 17 touchdowns. Power back stud. And he's going to command money in free agency. There are definitely going to be other suitors, but we've heard it from him, and we've heard it from the Lions organization that they want him back, and for a good reason. He's in the prime of his career. He's a reliable, sturdy running back who is a massive red zone threat, and every team in the NFL could use a guy like him. Now, DeAndre Swift is right there behind him, and he had a stellar year when he was healthy. Started off great. 5.5 yards per carry for DeAndre Swift on the season. 5.5 yards. Now, he's not a free agent quite yet. Still on that rookie contract, but this could be a year where Brad Holmes looks to possibly figure out the future of DeAndre. I would love to see DeAndre Swift at just a full-time Detroit Lions running back, because having a 1-2 punch duo in the National Football League, it is something you can't really even explain. Analytics definitely aren't going to show it to you. The 17 touchdowns and 5 touchdowns that DeAndre Swift definitely helped, but I think every Lions fan can agree, if DeAndre Swift was healthy, he is yet to be healthy for a full season in his very brief 3 NFL career years. He's just a playmaker. He's a dynamic playmaker. He can run the ball. He's explosive. He can catch the ball. It's something few and far between where guys can just change the game with one play, and that's what DeAndre Swift possesses. Now, like I said, it's not a free agent, but I hope that they hold on to DeAndre Swift, and I hope that he can remain healthy, because having a reliable guy like Jamal Williams, who had 262 attempts on the season, played every single football game for him, having a guy like him and Swift, just having a reliable guy in Jamal Williams, that makes it a lot easier to keep DeAndre Swift healthy. Now, staying in the offense, Evan Brown, he is definitely going to have other suitors as well. Now, the guard position is a spot in my most needed as far as what the Lions could be looking for in the draft. We'll talk about that in just a second. You do have John Kaminsky. You do have Alex Anzalone, and circling back to the offense, DJ Chark had a phenomenal year. When he was healthy, when he got healthy, phenomenal year. 16.7 yards per reception, and you can kind of tell in some of these post-game interviews and just the interviews in general that DJ Chark definitely wants to be back in a Lions uniform. Alex Anzalone, that is a linebacker. The linebackers could look differently next year, but I would imagine, he's a fan favorite. He's a team favorite. The coaches love him. I think Alex Anzalone will be back in a Lion uniform next season. But those are just kind of 5 guys, burgers and fries. Those are 5 guys that just kind of, they're going to have potential, or they're definitely going to have other suitors, and they potentially could not be back in Lion uniforms next year. I actually have a couple of running backs I have circled that Detroit could look into. Now, with that 18th pick, they could be looking for a running back like John Johnson from Texas, but this is a good running back free agency class. If you do lose on Jamal Williams, you could look into the draft. But I think, and we'll talk about it in a second, like I said, I think defense is what they should focus on with their first 2 picks in the first round. But you got starters, capable starters that aren't going to cost you an arm and a leg. Guys like Damian Harris, Raheem Mostert, Dante Foreman, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary. You could even get a little bit deeper than that and find some nice complementary pieces like Latavius Murray, Rashad Penny, Jeff Wilson Jr. I know some of those guys have injury concerns, or Latavius, I guess, is getting a little bit older. But like I said, I think Jamal will be back in a Lions uniform. It's just where he wants to be. Now, looking at the draft, we'll talk a ton of draft on this channel. So once again, hit that like button, hit that sub button for Lions content. But I have a couple of positions that I want to talk about: the cornerback spot and the defensive tackle spot. The reason I'm bringing those up first, I think every Lions fan would agree that Jalen Carter falling to 6 would be. I wouldn't even know how to hold myself down, because that would be unbelievable. Don't think they'll be able to get him, but I would anticipate, especially with that 18th pick, that they will focus on the cornerback position. This Lions defense, while it did get very much improved in the second half of the season, keep in mind this team started 1-6. They finished 9-8. That is pretty much unheard of. Jeff Okudah, the former top, almost first-round pick, he showed a lot of flashes, but it was definitely inconsistent. I expect in the draft, and maybe even a little bit in free agency, that they're going to focus on that cornerback position. As I alluded to earlier on in the video, you do have that guard spot circled with potential Evan Brown departure. I have a tight end with a question mark, because once they traded TJ Hawkinson, because Brad Holmes wasn't going to want to pay him his due money in 1 year from now, they went to a tight end by committee, and I absolutely loved it. And I have seen some mock drafts where they have Lions taking a tight end in the first round. Not really with the 6th pick, but I'm not a huge fan of tight ends in the first round. I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal thing. I don't think the tight end is a dire need for them, so that remains to be seen. We'll keep talking about it. There are some free agents like my Robert Tonyan. I don't think Tonyan will be back in a Packer uniform. He could be kind of a low-buy, high-reward type of player, so something to keep in mind. Then I have final position as that safety spot. So coming in 28th in total scoring, 25.1 points per game. When you have a top 5 offense, that certainly helps, but I do anticipate just throughout the draft, they're going to focus so much on the defense, as they should, because the offense, I mean, yeah, maybe there's a couple of holes that you could fill or look to improve. I think the main focus is going to be on that defensive side. So watch out, Minnesota. They're coming for you. I think us Packer fans already know that the Lions have came and they've conquered. So it's going to be a fun offseason. I will continue to cover it. Let's try and get this video to 1,000 likes. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this draft, free agency, all the kit and caboodle down below. Peace.